I think Wasteland 3 might just be the biggest surprise for me in 2020. At least when it comes to video games, because 2020 has had a lot of things going on. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Wasteland 3, uh, I'm mostly unfamiliar with Wasteland as a whole, but if you're someone who plays on Nintendo, as most of the people I know on this channel do, there is a remaster of Wasteland 1 and 2, I believe, on the Nintendo Switch, so there is a chance you may know about this series if you haven't already. But I did not. I knew absolutely nothing about Wasteland other than there was some kind of connection with Fallout. And that alone made me always have an interest in it, but never quite enough to really dive in, put the money down and play it. That is until Xbox Game Pass and Microsoft and all of that stuff going on made it possible to have Wasteland 3 on Xbox Game Pass day one. And I'm 100% sure, I'll say this with complete confidence, there is no way I would have been able to play Wasteland 3 without Xbox Game Pass. I'm guaranteeing you it would have been the same exact scenario that it would have been with Wasteland 1 and 2, where I would have vaguely heard about it and never play it, right? Because here's my thing. Everyone that I personally know in my friend circle, hell, even on my Twitter, I haven't really seen anyone talk about Wasteland. Not even when Wasteland 3 released. I didn't hear anybody talking about it. None of my friends were playing it. Nobody, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who was playing it, but just not my circle of friends. And that's a shame, because Wasteland 3 is probably the best game I didn't even know about for 2020, right? I felt like it went really under the radar for a lot of people. Or maybe it's just because I surround myself with a lot of people who like Nintendo, that they wouldn't really notice it. Mind you, I have friends who play primarily Xbox, and they didn't even really talk about it either. It took me to randomly decide to see Wasteland on there, download it, install it onto my Xbox, and play it to really fully realize how much I like Wasteland. And it really was the biggest surprise for me. So if you are unfamiliar, Wasteland is kind of like this, I guess you could call it like a tactical RPG for Nintendo people. I guess you could kind of look at it as in a similar light, sort of, to Fire Emblem, where it's mostly, making your characters walk on this sort of tile or grid-based system and taking turns to attack each other. And honestly, it is really good. It is extremely good. The writing's hilarious, and the story is very interesting. And there's just this. I don't know, I feel involved the entire time I'm playing this game. There's a lot of really silly parts in it, and I think that's where a lot of its humor derives from, is just discovering these really interesting and just outlandish characters. And I think one of my favorite things about the game is that instead of having units like Fire Emblem that just have their own personalities and character traits, you kind of just make most of your own characters. You don't have to. There are characters out there with character traits on their own and personalities on their own, but I think my favorite part about it is the create a character feature, where I can essentially make 4 totally custom characters. And I think that I find myself kind of just creating in my mind my own little backstories for these characters and what they're going through in this wasteland, and kind of just figuring their lives out while I'm out here in Colorado. And mind you, it's so interesting. I feel like I'm fumbling over my words because I just can't get over how good this game is. My biggest problems with this game primarily come from the technical side of it. Maybe it's because I'm playing on an Xbox, or maybe not, and not on a PC. And mind you, I started playing Wasteland 3 on the Xbox One X, and I've recently started playing it again, but now on my Xbox Series X. I know, confusing, but I was playing on my Xbox Series X, and I haven't really noticed as much issues on my Series X, so I feel like it might be on the hardware side, where a lot of their problems are very noticeable on the One X, especially when you're playing on co-op. And yeah, unlike other tactical RPGs that I've personally played, this game actually has co-op, which is kind of cool. although it is very buggy. It is very buggy. Sometimes menus just don't let you exit menus, and you have to start like a checkpoint over. Sometimes characters just get stuck on things, and it's very buggy. It's a very buggy game. And honestly, if it wasn't for those bugs, I feel like this game would be one of the best games I've ever played in the entire year, right? And mind you, it still is, but it would have been a lot higher, I think, if it wasn't for the very blatant bugs going on. But Wasteland 3 is just, it has a really gripping story. I'm very invested in my characters, considering they're mostly custom made. So I kind of feel like this sort of like almost like a headcanon created for each of them. And it's kind of just amazing. I think it's really good. And I'm surprised that there isn't as many people talking about it. And I feel like Wasteland 3 is one of those very, very good and prime examples that Game Pass is continuing to deliver. At least for me, right? I've seen some fears that because of Game Pass being the way that it is, that it's a subscription-based model, and that regardless, Microsoft's making a ton of cash off of it, that games coming out for that service are just not going to be as high quality as they typically would be otherwise. And I don't know. For Wasteland 3, I get that maybe the buggy side of it may give that impression, but I feel that it's still full of all this creativity and love being put into it. And it's the biggest surprise for me this year, primarily because I don't know anyone in my circle of friends who has been talking about it. Maybe there's people out there who has been playing it and talking about it and loving it, and if you are one of those people, please comment that, because in my circle of friends and my personal viewpoint right now, it just doesn't seem like there's that many people playing Wasteland 3. I think I know maybe one other person that is playing or has played Wasteland 3. But every other scenario where I've gone to talk to somebody about it, they just ask me, what is Wasteland? They don't know about it. And mind you, I was like that too. I didn't really know much about Wasteland until Wasteland 3 came out, and I installed it through Game Pass. And it's great. I really like it. And mind you, I'm still playing through it. It's pretty long, and I'm playing it like in between sessions of other games as well. But damn, I am very impressed with my time playing Wasteland 3. I just wish the game wasn't as buggy. And if the game worked exactly the way it's intended to work, I feel like I can see myself enjoying co-op on it as well. But yeah, at the state it is now, I think I'm going to stick to single player. I feel like multiplayer might be a little annoying. But yeah, that's kind of it. I don't really have much to say on Wasteland 3. Just, it is by far the biggest surprise of this year in terms of quality and in terms of hype around it, because there just wasn't really much attention on it as far as I knew. But man, is it one of the best games I've played in 2020. But let me know if you guys have heard of Wasteland, if you've played a Wasteland, and please let me know if you've played Wasteland, because I feel like I'm like outside of where the fandom is. But yeah, I guess. So let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Shifty, yeah, shifty. Wanna be the number one gamer? Come and get me. It'd be dope if you subscribe. Could you like the vid, please? Take your time, you don't gotta do it swiftly. Shifty, shifty. Wanna be the number one gamer? Come and get me.